everybody. This is Joseph P. Farrell with news and views on Thursday, August 15th, 2024. Let's take care of the housekeeping because we've got some of that before we dive into today's interesting story. They are predicting once again, just in time for the weekend, more storms. And they're predicting them for tonight, which is when I originally scheduled the vid chat. And they have now included tomorrow night, of course, which is when I moved the rescheduled vid chat. So I have rescheduled the evening vid chat to next Monday at 4 p.m. U.S. Central Time. But please note, the deadline to get your questions and comments and submissions in is still tonight at 10 o'clock U.S. Central Time. The reason for that is we have another vid chat next Friday, and I'm going to keep that one on the schedule, weather permitting. So we're going to have actually two vid chats, a makeup chat next Monday evening. That will be our evening vid chat, and then the regularly scheduled vid chat on Friday, weather permitting. I'm really sick of the weather. The new book is finished. It's off to the publisher. Hopefully we will be hearing from him that he's received it okay. But the new book is finished. All right, now, let's get down to business. You remember the Nordstream pipeline that was delivering gas from Russia to Germany that we were told after someone blew it up that the Russians did it. Of course, everything in the world that happens wrong is Russia's fault. So the Russians blew up their own pipeline because they did not want to make billions and billions of rubles shipping their gas to Germany, which was ready to buy billions and billions of rubles. So they've given us a lot of narratives about this. Now, the story's back in the news just yesterday, and this one's interesting to me because I am taking it as a bit of a sign that there are more cracks in NATO. This is a very interesting one. It's titled, Germany Issues Arrest Warrant for Ukrainian National Over Nordstream Gas Pipeline Sabotage Attack. This is by Elena Saviano, datelined Berlin just yesterday. And I want to read a few paragraphs from this and then give you what my take is, what I think may be going on here. So we'll start right at the top. Quote, Germany has asked Poland to arrest a Ukrainian diving instructor who was allegedly part of the team that blew up the Nord Stream gas pipeline nearly 2 years ago, according to 3 German media reports. The latest investigations point to Ukrainian authorship of the sabotage, which consisted of several underwater explosions on September 26, 2022, that ruptured the pipeline carrying gas between Russia and Germany 7 months after Vladimir Putin's large-scale invasion of the Ukraine. Okay? Continuing. Berlin has issued an arrest warrant for a Ukrainian citizen identified as Vladimir S., who allegedly resides in Poland. Investigators suspect 2 other Ukrainian nationals, including a woman, who participated in the attacks as part of the team of divers who placed the explosives on the pipes. A joint investigation by public television ARD, the Süddeutsche Zeitung newspaper, and the weekly Die Zeit has revealed. Now, let's skip down to about the middle of this article. This is where it gets very interesting. Quote, the silence of the countries that have or have had open investigations into the sabotage is almost absolute. The governments of Germany, Denmark, Sweden limited themselves to stating that they were still working, that the investigations were in the hands of independent bodies, and that they would make their conclusions public when they were reached. Sweden and Denmark stopped their own probes earlier this year. Meanwhile, months without official data have been feeding the hypotheses and conspiracy theories, such as that of well-known American journalist Seymour Hersh, who published a theory based on anonymous sources that led Vladimir Putin to claim the United States sabotaged the pipeline with Norway's help. The three German media outlets have published more details about the alleged perpetrators and the operation. It is known that a group of 6 people, 5 men and 1 woman, set sail from the northeastern German port of Rostock on September 6, 2022, on a sailboat named Andromeda. The equipment to carry out the attack had previously arrived at the port on a truck. The next day, the ship was located in Vik, near Rostock, and later on the Danish island of Christiansø, northeast of Bornholm. The team consisted of a captain, 2 divers, 2 dive assistants, and a doctor. Their nationalities were initially unclear as they used fake passports to charter the vessel. According to the new information, the origin of the participants has been clarified. They returned the boat without cleaning it, which led to the discovery of explosive residues on a table. A white van that appeared on September 8, 2022 on the island of Rügen in northern Germany, where the Andromeda also stopped over, also played a prominent role. The diver transported several Ukrainians and identified the now suspect in a photograph. Vladimir S. was identified as one of the passengers in that van. So let's skip all the way to the very end of this article for this last statement. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has denied his government's involvement in the attack. And there you have it. Now, here's my problem. We are being asked to believe that somehow Ukrainian nationals were involved in the sabotage of a pipeline supplying energy to Germany, which is supposedly one of their biggest and best allies in Europe, and which has supplied the Ukraine with armaments and munitions for those armaments, and as far as I know, is continuing to do so. So we're asked that one ally attacked another ally because they didn't like that ally getting their energy from Russia. In other words, again, I'm questioning the whole basis here of the narrative. But my other problem is that you'll notice that Germany is the only country in Europe pursuing, at least as far as we know, pursuing any public investigation or admitting that they're pursuing an investigation of the sabotage of the pipeline. Everybody else has either dropped out or has already shared the results of their investigation with the Germans, which I suspect is the case, and then has dropped out of any further investigation, leaving Germany to hold the bag. Now, I find that highly peculiar, and to me, that's another little telltale indicator that there might be some cracks and chinks in the NATO armor. Now, if you go back and remember what Seymour Hersh said, Hersh basically maintained that the sabotage of the pipeline was an American operation with Norwegian and British help, SAS operatives' help, with sabotaging the pipeline. So in other words, if that's the case, then some NATO allies committed an act of war against another NATO ally, namely Germany. So I have to ask this about this current investigation then. Is the Ukraine really involved, or is this a bit of intentional misdirection? Now, the misdirection is interesting because it's placing the blame on the most unstable and corrupt country in Europe right now, and that's obviously the Ukraine. So I don't put stupidity past them. Just look at the recent Kursk offensive, which, trust me, folks, is not going to be anything that ends well for the Ukraine. And if you're buying the Western propaganda on this score, then you need to go learn a few things about some military operations. It will end disastrously for the Ukraine. It was a stupid, foolish move, a desperation move. But if the Ukraine is involved in the sabotage of the Nordstream pipeline, I have to wonder, again, if it is really the Ukrainian government that's doing this, or if simply Ukrainian citizens were involved so that the real perpetrators of the deed can hide behind that. Is this investigation that's fingering the Ukraine, in other words, a cover to allow the real perpetrators to get away? So I have to wonder. Now, I strongly suspect, and I have ever since Seymour Hersh's article came out, I strongly suspect that Germany really knows, or suspects it knows, who was really involved, and I strongly suspect that Germany knows it was the United States. What I strongly suspect the Germans are trying to do is put together enough of an ironclad case to make that whole situation public, and to do that they need those Ukrainian frontmen to talk. That's my read of this at the moment. So in other words, this ongoing investigation is showing, again, a huge crack in NATO. The Germans would hardly sabotage their own pipeline. The Russians would hardly sabotage their own pipeline. So cui bono? Who benefits the most from the sabotage of that pipeline? Answer: the rest of NATO, excluding Germany, and principally the United States and the United Kingdom. That's who benefits. Even the Ukraine really doesn't benefit from this, because they're attacking the energy production of their biggest continental ally on the continent of Europe. So this is one to watch, folks. It'll be interesting to see if the Germans revisit this arrest warrant and have another one issued. It will be interesting if the Poles drag their feet or not, which it appears to me that they've done with this last arrest warrant, not serving it within the 60 days under EU regulations. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens here. I would not be a bit surprised to find out that the other European powers drag their feet on this, and I would not be a bit surprised to see if the Germans just decide to send in some GSG-9 secret teams and scoop up these witnesses, literally kidnap them, and bring them back to Germany on their own. So we'll watch this story very carefully. It's a little bit of rumble that all is not well and going smoothly in the NATO alliance. All right, that's it. Don't forget, our vid chat is moved to Monday afternoon at U.S. Central Time, but the submissions are still due by 10 o'clock U.S. Central Time tonight. After that, the submissions will be cut off. You'll have to resubmit to the vid chat next week. I'm sorry about all the weather. It seems that the weather can only hit during the weekends or when we've got something going on, but that's the way things are, folks. We'll see you on the flip side, everybody. Bye-bye, and God bless.